Today we will be learning how to sew a cloth face mask. You will need one piece of 9" by 12" 100% cotton fabric, 73 inches of bias tape, thread to match the color of your bias tape, a ruler, a marker that will show up on your fabric, a sewing needle, and 6 pins. First, you will take your piece of fabric and fold it in half to make a 9" by 6" piece of fabric. Take your ruler and line it up with the edge of one of your short edges of your fabric. Using your marker, make a small dot at 5 inches, 3 inches, and 1 inch. Then make a small line at 5 3/4 inches, 3 3/4 inches, and 1 3/4 inches. Repeat the same process on the other short side of your fabric. Next, pinch your fabric at your first dot on either side and fold over until you reach your first small line. Place an object on top to keep the fold in place, like the spool of thread I am using. Using a small pin on each side, pin the fabric so the fold stays. Repeat the same process with your other 2 sets of small dots and small lines so you make 2 more folds on your fabric. Then thread your sewing needle with thread and using an up and down stitch sew each side of your pinned mask so the fold stays. If you need a reminder on how to sew an up and down stitch, please see Stitch Together's video in the link below. Now, using your ruler, you are going to measure out 2 32-inch pieces of bias tape and 1 9" piece of bias tape. Take your 9" piece of bias tape and use pins to securely fold the bias tape over the exposed, long edge of your fabric. Then thread a needle and sew using an up and down stitch along your bias tape, making sure to remove the pins as you sew. Also, make sure to keep your stitches close together. If you would like a guide, make sure to sew on every dot or line of your fabric to keep your stitches consistent. Don't forget to tie off your stitches at the end. Take one of your 32-inch long pieces of bias tape and fold it in half. Keeping your finger on the halfway point, unfold your bias tape and line up the middle of your bias tape piece with the center of your mask on one side. Using a sewing pin to keep the bias tape in place, pin the middle of your bias tape to the center of one side of your mask. Then fold your bias tape over the other side of your mask and adjust your pin so it holds over both sides of your mask. Using 2 additional pins to fold the bias tape over the edge of your face mask to keep it in place. Then thread a long piece of thread through your needle and sew an up and down stitch all the way down your folded piece of bias tape. Start at one end and use your fingers to fold the bias tape in half while you sew. You may need to rethread your needle multiple times to prevent yourself from using too long of a piece of thread that easily tangles. Repeat the same process on the other short edge of your fabric using your other 32-inch long piece of bias tape. Now you know how to sew a face mask. Make sure to stay updated with our latest news by following Stitch Together on social media through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching and see you next time.